Loss of mental capacity. Loss of mental capacity can serve as reasonable cause for the abatement of IRS penalties. Abatement means removal of IRS penalties. And in our factual situation, the story is focused on a gal who lived for decades and, quite frankly, lived well for decades. And then her life circumstances changed. Her husband died. Prior to that time, it was his responsibility to administer to all the bank accounts and all the check writing and the tax responsibilities. And in other words, he handled all the financial matters. And her job was to raise the kids and to keep the house and manage things in a very personal level. But when he died, it became her responsibility to do all of those things too. And she never had the experience in handling them. Well, after he died, she did her best, and she tried to catch up to those responsibilities. And with her pride, when she was asked if she was actually doing that successfully, she responded yes. Well, they had enough money during the time that he was alive, and after he died, he left money to her too. And there was always income for her to live on, which meant in the long run that was something that she became responsible for. And when there's income, there's taxes. So in the first several years, she took her financial information and income information to several different small tax return preparation offices, and they prepared her tax returns for her over that period of time. But for some reason, she stopped. And once she stopped doing that in the first year, she didn't pick it up in the years that followed. She wasn't able to, for whatever reason. But we do know that over the course of time, her mental abilities, her mental capacities failed. And despite her pride, when she was asked by her family if she was keeping up with her financial responsibilities, and specifically her tax responsibilities, she responded yes, but knew otherwise. Despite the fact that she wanted to catch up, she just couldn't. And that went on for many, many years. And eventually she passed. And regardless of the reality that she had been telling everybody in her family, who was fully ready to support her and did in fact support her, they discovered that what it is that she had been telling them for all that time was not right. And that included the one particular son-in-law who was a CPA and who could have prepared and offered to prepare her tax returns for her. In fact, he even went further than that, because he knew that she was a very private person and that she wanted to maintain her own confidentialities, and he offered to link her up, if you will, with another CPA who would be able to service her tax preparation needs in private and in confidence. But still, she didn't follow through with any of that. And in the end, the IRS wanted to be paid, and it required that those tax returns that were delinquent would be filed by her estate on her behalf. And that's huge. You know, when she passed, her family found dozens of letters from the IRS, and those letters ranged from requests for filing tax returns to letters that focused on the fact that the IRS filed substitute tax returns, and we have another factual sample that deals specifically with that for her. And then there were letters that were demanding full payment. So the full gamut was covered, and some of those letters demanding full payment actually extended to her certain due process hearing rights that she could have elected, and all of these things could have been addressed in that circumstance. And we have a factual setting that addresses your appeal rights and how to deal with penalties in the appeal setting too. But as you can see, when a person is debilitated as she was, all of those rights really don't have any immediate value because they're not exercised. But it doesn't mean that they're lost. And the lesson in this factual situation is that her mental incapacities, her circumstances that were reasonable cause for the abatement of penalties, because she just couldn't do what it is that was expected of her. She just couldn't do it. She couldn't catch up to her life changes. But her family can afterwards. And when all the returns are prepared, all the returns are filed, the machine, the IRS collection machine, is automatically going to assess these huge penalties. Huge penalties. But they won't have to be paid if the family challenges them on a reasonable cause basis and establishes her incapacities in the way that they know that they can. Because there's an awful lot of other things that she didn't do during the time that was passing before she deceased. Now, sometimes you want to turn to physicians and psychiatrists, other financial advisors. You want to take a look at the track record of what real property taxes weren't paid. In any case, whatever it is that clearly demonstrates the total background of her, Heather's, ability to meet her responsibilities and help the IRS understand what it is that she was going through. And I can tell you that I've seen many circumstances where the surviving family pays the penalties when they didn't have to. But if they come to us in time, this is a fairly straightforward showing. And the amount of savings is genuine. It's genuine. And the original intent, which is to benefit the family, can still be maintained if you move forward and you raise and challenge these issues on your own. That's the key, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Thank you.